think I'm unmuted.
Oh, yes, you are. Perfect.
Can everyone
You
hear
are
me?
now. Yes. So I'm just going to say a few opening words here, Jeff, before you started. I wanted to welcome everybody for coming. I am Merredith MacLennan. I am one of the FOLA real estate co-chairs along with Eldon. Eldon can give a wave. If you've got all the participants on your screen, you might have Eldon on your screen and he can give a wave. And so together, Eldon and I are the co-chairs of real estate for the Federation of Ontario Law Associations. And we distributed the notice from the ministry with respect to the closures of the LROs to the public in July, and we got a lot of response from the local real estate reps. And so what we thought we would do is ask Jeff if he would meet with us to just go through what it's going to look like, what it's going to mean, answer some of the questions. We sent Jeff questions that we have received in advance. Jeff has been kind enough to agree to this meeting, and this was a very popular meeting once it was set up. We are completely maxed out. There were people who tried to get into the meeting that didn't have, we just didn't have enough room for them to come in and join us. So Jeff has agreed that we can record this meeting so that we can distribute it. It's information that the real estate bar is going to need to know. So I would ask the local reps to make sure that the lawyers in your association are provided with the information. Everybody should have received an email yesterday with information on the procedures for registration of paper documents. If you didn't get that, it is available on the FOLA website in our latest real estate update. I would ask everybody today to keep your microphones muted. There's not going to be live Q&A this morning. We have a limited amount of time and a lot of information to be shared with us, so everybody's going to stay on mute. If you do unmute yourself, one of the hosts will likely just jump right in and mute you. So this is not a forum where we're going to be having a discussion back and forth. And so with that, I am going to thank everybody for coming. And I don't know that he needs an introduction to anybody in this meeting, but I will introduce Jeffrey Lem, who's the Director of Titles for Ontario. And I will hand it over to you, Jeff. Thank you very much for agreeing to meet with us and provide some information to us this morning, Jeff.
No, it's the other way around. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to reach out to the lawyers that I care about, right? The real estate lawyers of this province are my audience, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to address you. I apologize it's not a live session in the sense of there's just going to be no give and take and banter back and forth. With upwards of 100 people, it becomes unmanageable in this sort of an environment. But that doesn't mean that we can't be reached. Anyone who wants to talk to me can always send an email. I'll get around to speaking to you and absolutely will address all of the concerns that people have. Before I get in on my discussion on registry offices, I'd like to give you a brief bit of a COVID update. It's kind of timely as we're all talking about the second wave. I want to start off in any discussion about COVID with two props. One, to my staff. Especially if you go back to March, think about the early days of COVID, when we very clearly said we are an essential business, we have to stay open, okay? At that time, there was no concept of working from home. Land registry software is proprietary. It doesn't translate well to working from home. Nobody was set up to work from home. So when the first announcement came out that, we are in a pandemic lockdown, my staff all volunteered to come to work. We kept those registry offices open. Everybody came in. We kept certifying, and it was busy. It stayed busy right up until the middle of the summer. So, I really do want to thank my staff. No complaints, no nothing. We said we're essential, you're coming to work. Everybody came to work. We had very little people who refused to come to work. And now we're a little bit better. We've designed some ways of working from home most of the time for some projects. And it's much more in line with how other people are working now. But I still have people coming into the office every day, and all 54 offices still stay open for certification every day. Now, The second props I'd like to take a moment giving is to TerraNet. You know, we built TerraView with the view that it would replace registrations and searches in the overwhelming number of incidents electronically, so you didn't have to come into the registry office. I see a number of the faces up on this Zoom shot, and a lot of you are old enough to remember the old days, right? You know, it was a zoo. It was an absolute zoo in the registry office. Some of the kids can't even fathom what it was like in the registry offices before. But COVID really drove home what a great system TerraNet built for us. TerraView was flawless throughout COVID. Everybody kept registering. There were no downtimes. While the rest of the economy suffered here or there with this kind of closure, that kind of closure, lineups out the door, all that stuff, nothing happened in real estate. In terms of TerraView, it worked flawlessly, and it was ultimately my proof of concept. I said, this is why we built it, right? Yeah, it was to get rid of congestion in the registry offices, streamline things, work digital, but COVID really showed us the value of TerraView, and TerraView worked flawlessly, so hats off to TerraNet, okay? A few things about COVID. Again, all the offices are open, but everybody knows we're on shortened hours, 9:30 till noon across the province, so there's no exceptions on that. Everybody also knows that a lot of my offices don't open anymore. Some of the smaller offices just have not opened during COVID. That's not an open, I don't advertise it, but if I only have one person there and nobody shows up, guess what? Office ain't open. So that's happened a lot through COVID, and that's driven some of what we're going to be talking about today. You know, I give cautions. If you want to caution a land, you get 60 days. During COVID, we were generous. 60 days, 120 days, 180 days. Somebody said I actually authorized a fourth caution. So I don't remember that. I'll never admit to it, but those days are gone. The courts have reopened. They're not 100%. Nothing's 100% these days, but the courts are reopened. If you're still gonna have a caution, but then you have to go get a CPL. It's not that hard. I've been asking around. It isn't impossible. So I'm not being generous with second, third, fourth cautions anymore, okay? We had a moratorium on objections to first apps. For those guys who do first apps, I said, all objections, blanket moratorium. That was taken off, I think, beginning of August. So objections, we're going to deal with them. We're going to have hearings, whatever it takes. I mean, that process is all back to normal now. There is no COVID process for that anymore, okay? And of course, this is pending, who knows what's going to happen in the second wave. But for the time being, we are uncovided. We're COVIDed out, okay? On a personal note, for your collective amusement, since COVID, I originally lost 15 pounds. I was thrilled because for the last 5 years as the director, I've been trying to lose 15 pounds and I have not been able to do it. And then they went into stage 3 and they reopened the restaurants, and I've gained almost all of it back. So now I know, at least now I know where this physique comes from, right? So anyways, I thought that was a mild, amusing COVID story. But thank you for hearing me out on COVID, but that's not what you're here for. You guys want to hear me talk about the closure of registry offices to the public effective Thanksgiving. So the last day, if you want a nostalgic run into the registry office, you come in on the Friday, and by the end of Thanksgiving, you will not be able to come in anymore. Now, the staff will still be there. I mean, if you want to go to the window and wave to your friendly staff, they'll still be there. We still have certifications to do, splits, plans. We've got a lot of work still to do. They will be there, but you won't be able to access the office. The doors will be effectively closed to you. Now, what does that mean in practical terms? In practical terms, it means a couple things. Paper registrations. Well, what are you going to do? Like, there are times when you had to go into the registry office to register something. Non-converts, right? Everybody still has an occasional non-convert, some more than others, but we all have a non-convert deal every now and then, right? There are other paper registrations that you might have to go to the registry office to register. How are we going to deal with that? I'm going to talk about that today. It's also going to mean no more physical searching, right? So if you were used to doing old behind the parcel type searches, either in non-convert property or you needed to what we call deep search behind a parcel, often you would go to the registry office. I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to do searches as well. There's also a mechanical aspect to this. Some of you used to use Roscoe machines, right? Like, I don't know if any of you guys actually do. Even when I practiced law, I never used the Roscoe machine, but the Roscoe machines are there. There's an old TerraView backup machine. I bet you didn't know that. In all 54 of my land registry offices, I kept an emergency computer. This is back in the day, 20 years ago, when we first went online. We always worried, what if Jerry Udell's one computer broke and he wouldn't be able to do a deal because computers break back then. We always kept, I think it's some sort of 486 Pentium back in the back that actually has TerraView loaded. And in the old days, you could run up with your stick and jam it in and close at the registry office. So we have that computer, that's gone. Roscoe's gone. You know, all the microfilming and all that is gone. It's, I mean, obviously not physically gone, but you won't be able to use it anymore. So those are the practical implications. Now, I'm here today to address all of those concerns and to tell you what we're going to do about it. Before I do, I have one more amusing story. Not as amusing as my weight gain, weight loss, but an amusing story about how, sort of the history of how we came about this plan to close the registry offices. And it involves one of you guys. I don't see him on the screen, but Eldon Horner is one of yours. The story is slightly embellished. I'll confess that the story I'm about to tell you is slightly embellished. Go back at least a couple of years. I am in Morrisburg in his backyard with these, I swear to God, 2-inch thick tomahawk steaks on a barbecue, okay? There are 4 empty bottles of red wine. Now, Eldon tells me, Jeff, can we sort of modify the story to say 4 glasses of red wine, right? But I'm a truthful guy. There were 4 empty bottles of red wine, and they weren't empty before we started in on the steaks. So now I've set the context. And then after 4 bottles of red wine, Eldon tells me the story of how difficult it is to do a non-convert registration in one of the smaller land registry offices. I'm pretty sure he was talking Morrisburg, but I think his story applies to everything, to all of the smaller land registry offices. This is his story to me. He says, Jeff, you walk in the office, nobody's at the counter for land titles. You hit a bell, it goes ding. Somebody from a kiosk, 3 kiosks over, takes off his bear hunting license, puts on a land titles cap, runs over to the counter, and takes my document. He then runs to the back of the land registry office, faxes it, in his case to Ottawa or some bigger center, and we all wait. We all wait till the fax goes through. We all wait till somebody in Ottawa or Thunder Bay or one of the big centers approves or not approves or whatever the document. The kid with the bear hunting license runs back and then takes my money. Jeff, that takes forever sometimes, depending on how busy the kid with the bear hunting license cap is, depending on how busy Ottawa or whoever you're faxing it to is. It's a ridiculous process that has to be addressed. Now, was Eldon a little bit unfairly disparaging to my kid who wears a bear hunting cap license? Yes, he was. Did Eldon probably exaggerate how difficult it was to get the deal done? Maybe a little bit. Did Eldon have a point? Definitely. Definitely Eldon had a point. I wanted to do something to make registrations in the especially the smaller ones. We're not talking Toronto, we're not talking Ottawa. Some of these smaller land registry offices, the absolute dearth of staff, the absolute dearth of resources makes it very difficult for them to get a registry document registered. Simple as that. It's difficult. I accept that proposition, and I took it as a challenge to do something. So, just so you know where this story goes, coming in December-ish, I will have electronic registration of registry documents, paper documents. Anything that came in paper up until Thanksgiving will come in electronically after December. I'm going to build it right into TerraView. You're going to open up TerraView, and if there's going to be, I don't know how it's going to look. There'll be some drop down saying, did you want to register a paper document? And you're going to say yes, and it's going to open up. Now, when I say electronic, it is not TerraView. It's not going to pre-populate. It's not going to set out a TerraView form that you're used to. I mean, what's it going to pre-populate? We're in registry. What's the ownership field look like? I don't know, right? Like, it will not pre-populate. But what it will be is a PDF convenient submission portal. So you'll still make your paper document, like just do it the same way you were going to do. And then come December, you're going to open up TerraView, and it's going to say attach PDF document, boom, boom, done. That's coming in December. Until December, I've got a couple of temporary makeshift solutions, and that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today. So how am I going to, before December, now don't forget, after December, we're going to be digital or electronic or whatever you want to call it. It'll be PDF submission right inside TerraView. It'll open up. After Thanksgiving, but before December, what are we going to do for paper? Well, you go to the registry office, the doors will be closed. I'm not allowing you to shove stuff under the door and stuff like that. So don't think you're going to do it that way, right? But the solution, and I hope you've read the submission, the electronic registration procedure guide excerpt that was emailed yesterday. The solution is elegantly simple. Mail or Purolator or FedEx, mail or courier. Anything that you were gonna do, instead of sending it off to a conveyancer to walk into, or an articling student or yourself or your assistant, instead of having them walk to the registry office, send it to Purolator or FedEx or Canada Post, have them bring it into us, right? There is a prescribed form, and Merredith, I hope it got sent out as well, but it doesn't matter. It'll be widely circulated. You must use my cover sheet. It's like a fax cover sheet with instructions, okay? If you do not have that cover sheet, it's gonna come right back to you. I will not guess at your instructions. I will not take a long letter explaining, and if it's a Thursday, do this, and if it's a Friday, do that, and if somebody else comes in, do that, right? Like, it is a prescribed form you've got to follow, okay? So where do you send your Purolator, FedEx, Canada Post? To the exact same LRO that you were gonna go to anyways, comma, with an exception. You will notice that the big chunk of that ERPG excerpt that came out yesterday are the exceptions. And if you want to know what the common denominator is on these exceptions, is that they are small or non-existent land registry offices. I still have a kiosk. It still says land titles. When you go there, you meet with the bear hunting license kid, okay? These are the smaller land registry offices. You'll notice the geographic cluster, a ton of them around Ottawa, Eastern Ontario. Almost all of those are going towards Ottawa, okay? A ton in the north. The Great White North is going to T-Bay, and a bunch of miscellaneous ones will go to Windsor. Other than that, and for all the major type of major land registry, the bigger land registry offices, you send it directly to the land registry offices that you were gonna go to anyways. This is not a materially problematic solution. As fixes go, this ain't so bad. Couple of nuances for you real registration types, right? How will I check my last registered instrument? Because, you know, how do you look at the day sheet for the guys who are really old, right? In my cover sheet, you will tell me what you think the last registered instrument is. Instrument number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My guys, when they get the package, will say, look at the last registered instrument on the RPIN and say, oh, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. And we'll call you, we're sending it back. Unless you tell me, we'll call you. And you can say, go ahead and register. I don't care about those other two useless little bylaws or something that came on. Or we'll send it back. Your call, right? Like, is it as convenient as going to a land registry office and sub-searching on the spot and then fixing the problem in the land registry office with the opposing counsel standing there? No. Is it a good fix? Yes. How often do you, now be honest with me, how often do you do a registry deal, you get to the counter and oh my God, there's an intervening instrument that you didn't expect to be there? Okay, I'm going to be testing these numbers. I don't think it happens very often on a non-convert deal. And you know how I know? The guys come in are pretty casual. Like there's just nobody, we're not meeting up, we're not doing sub-searches. It's pretty casual how these registrations have been going so far. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but it's a tool that's available. Okay, now another nuance, which I don't love and may not have eventually, is I call it charge on GAR. Charge on GAR, charge on GAR. It's not limited to charge on GAR, but you know how when you register a mortgage and then a GAR right after, general assignment of rents, right after, back to back, boom, boom, right? Easy to do in TerraView. And don't forget, TerraView is 99% of my registrations, but 1% registration in paper, in non-convert. How do you do it? If you guys even remember how you do it, you register the charge, you look at the charge number, you get a pen. Remember what that is? A pen. And there's a box called related to or instrument related to, something like that. And you put in a number using your hand and a pen. How are you going to do that in a courier, right? Like you put your charge or GAR, they go in, right? You're not going to be able to hand scribble the charge onto the GAR before the GAR goes in because they both came in together. We got a temporary fix for that. We'll treat it as a correction and you can, it's mildly silly. We'll send it back to you by email. You will write in the number on an email and scan it and email it back. Don't giggle. It is an unusually old school-ish fix for an old school-ish problem. It doesn't come up a lot. I'm going to fix the actual example, charge on GAR, by just fixing it at the back end. You can discharge both by just putting it in your discharge. You reference both, they both go. That's really all anyone cares about, but putting charge on GAR to make sure you can discharge them both with one discharge instead of discharge of charge, what do you call it? Deletion of GAR, discharge of GAR. So I'm going to fix that problem on the back end. It's not always charge on GAR. There are other examples. Survivorships sometimes, because everyone's lazy now, they want to do it all in one shot. They want to put the survivorship onto the transfer and put them both in at the same time. A bad habit, I'll tell you all, in some CPD on survivorships. But my point is, for the time being, there is a mildly cumbersome, yucky fix to charge on GAR if it's really serious. Or the alternative, if you don't like that, and I don't love it, and it may not work great on charge on GAR, but it works great on other documents. Register the first document on Monday, register the next document on Thursday, right? Because then you'll have by Monday, we'll probably have it up and you'll see it on your RPIN, you'll have the number, register the next instrument in paper on Thursday. And that's great if you've got a power of attorney, if you've got survivorships. You should be doing those documents first, wait a few days, see everything uploaded, put your numbers into your next document, fire them in. Doesn't work great on charge on GAR, I admit, but on every other scenario where you might want to put an instrument in, it will work well, okay? Now, I'm just checking my notes, okay. I want you to pay attention to which registry offices you're going to if you're in a diverted registry office, because that's important to get the right registry office to go to. Okay. Somebody has criticized me saying, well, it's faster for me to run down to the registry office in person and register it. Yeah. Okay. It is faster. The courier will take 1 extra day. Okay. Onwards. What about searching? Now, it's not just non-converts that you search, right? if you're doing, I still call them first apps, but what's the fancy word now? LTCQ to LT Absolute Plus applications. You do have to do a full 40-year search. Some of the guys who do extra due diligence, you know, the Enviro guys, they want you to go back to patent. There may be other reasons. Sometimes you get a subject to instrument number that's not in your stack. It's behind the stack. You have to go in and look for it. There are occasions when you need to look at the registry documents, right? The old paper document, old registry and old paper LT, right? So you might want to have to look at the old paper LT. There are occasions, I'm not pretending there aren't. And most people right now, they don't come down themselves. They'll send a title searcher to come down and look for it, right? But if there's if the doors are closed, how am I going to look for it, Jeff? Well, OnLand. Everybody knows OnLand as a portal from which you can ask questions, chase documents, ask for pre-approvals, ask for overrides. That's how lawyers look at OnLand. But if you really actually look at OnLand, it's way more than that. In fact, it wasn't really built. That's what it's become for us. You know, we're practical and we use OnLand. It's a convenient tool for you to contact the land registry office, right? But what OnLand really was built to be was a repository of all the old historical documents. And they're all there. They really are, well, all, because we're going to talk about all in a second, okay? They're all gonna be there. We've been scanning for the last 3 years and I still continue to scan. And we're scanning like crazy to get up to Thanksgiving. So on Thanksgiving, Jeff, will you swear on your children that every document that's ever been in a land registry office has been scanned in OnLand? Actually, I will, because I don't care about my children. But the real answer is no. We're getting there. We're really getting there. But no. Even if I could say that we're done. Like my people have said, every shred of paper has been scanned, right? Guess what? 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. You'll pull up a document and say, oh, it was scanned illegibly. It was scanned missing every other page. It was scanned, not scanned. It looked like it was scanned, but it was not scanned. Or guys, this is tech, right? Tech is tech. Things will go wrong. So let me tell you, in terms of raw numbers, by Thanksgiving, I'm going to be north of 85%. But that's not the right question, okay? Because you might say, well, 85% isn't exactly something to brag about. It's like an Asian fail, really. But 85 isn't like, it's not like 89 point, like, it's not like 99.9%, Jeff. So what are you bragging about? That's the wrong statistic. There will be documents. I've got documents going back forever that are still need to be scanned. The statistic that matters is we've done a run on OnLand. Every time you've asked for a historical document on OnLand, what is our success rate of it being there? Guess what? 99%. We actually, if you asked for a document, it was there. Like if you searched a document, a historical registry document, 99% of the time it was there, okay? The 1% that was not there, we are providing a sort of an expedited SWAT team. Will find it, hunt it down, and rescan it and re-upload it within 48 hours, right? That's the service standard we're going to gun for. That's on the 1% of documents that you asked for that either weren't there or were scanned, crooked to the point you can't read, blurred out, whatever. If you ask for it, we have a dedicated team that will try to find it, upload it. Okay, so in OnLand, the 1% of the time that we haven't had it, we've been able to upload it within 48 hours, 95% of the time. So we're down to a pretty reasonably functionable standard, okay? And don't think coming into the land registry office is always that much better, right? There are documents lost, stolen, location unknown in a lot of my LROs too. So don't say it was so much better in the land registry office, right? Now, I get a lot from the hardcore title searchers, you know, the grizzly ones, right? I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, Jeff. Those guys. That on-land sucks. First of all, I didn't change any of the indexing quirks in on-land. Don't tell me on-land sucks until you've actually looked at your LROs. Every one of these LROs are peculiar. You have real peculiar ways of saying east of the Humber River, ETHR, you know, concession 4, lot 12, ETHR. Nobody knows what that means unless you're the local guy, right? There are land registry offices that skip concession numbers. 1, 3, 4, 5. I said, what happened to 2? Oh, the old land registrar thought it was unlucky and he just canceled that book. I go, what, right? There are stories like this everywhere. Every single LRO has got quirks like you wouldn't believe. What we did do in on-land is we spent quite a bit of time converting the language. So if, you know, S/T subject to, but you'd be surprised how many variations of S/T there were. We tried to standardize those, right? We tried to standardize that kind of nomenclature so that it shows up well on a computer. But otherwise, they're indexed, they're there. Could I have built a better index? If any of you guys know this computer techie stuff, yeah, you can build better indexes, right? Indexes is what costs a lot of money, a lot of money. So it's there, it's searchable, it's not bad. The old guys tend not to like it as much. They say that it's slower to search something in on-land. And here's another story I want to tell you. Okay, this is a Toronto LRO. You guys know I work out of Toronto LRO. There is a paper record for Eaton Center. Originally, Eaton Center was done in paper. So it's land titles, absolute paper. The old paper parcels. If you told me, Jeff Lem, right now, search Eaton Center, the old paper parcel, I need to see something that happened back in 1970. Bang! I'll find that book for you so fast your head will spin. Why? Because I know exactly where it is. It's right beside the men's washroom. That's why I know exactly where it is. I see it several times every single day, okay? I know exactly where that book is. And that's the same for every LRO, every title searcher. They walk into the LRO, they know which book is where, okay? Why is it beside the men's washroom? I don't know. The racks beside the women's washroom were full. That's the only rationale we have for Toronto, why those books are there. But I know where they are, so I'm faster searching them. If you said, Jeff, you have to find the Toronto Eaton Center pins in paper using on-land, will it take me longer? Damn straight it'll take me longer. I know where the men's washroom is. I know where Eaton Center is. That's my point. When people say on-land is slower, yes, for the one registry office that you're familiar with, it's like an old library. If you know exactly where your book is, it's way faster. Just walk up to the stack and pull the book out rather than going through the indexing system. But don't forget, on land, you can search all 54 land registry offices. Today, if you want to search Kenora and Morrisburg, you drive first to Morrisburg, then you drive to Kenora, or hire people in different locations, right? You do not search it from the comfort of your own desk. On-land allows all that searching. So I don't know if I've addressed the answer. I mean, if the simple question is, it's slower and more awkward in on-land, yeah, it's slower. It certainly compared to a person who knows your land registry office, yep, it'll be slower. But on other land registry offices, I dare you, go into a land registry office you don't know and then tell me which is slower. So that's the trade-off, and it is a trade-off, okay? So I fully accept that it will be a trade-off. Okay, next item, and then I'm gonna go into questions and answers, and then hopefully that I'm gonna end it a little bit early so that I can so I can go look at the Toronto Eaton Center parcel pages. Now, how going forward are we going to get information on what's going to change? Because don't forget, I have an interim change between Thanksgiving and December, but come December, there's going to be a material change where it's going to become all electronic submission. From now on, the Electronic Registration Procedures Guide. You guys should all know it. If any of you are sticking up your hands and saying, what is that? Then shame on you, because that has been, for the longest time, such as it is, my Bible on how to register documents in TerraView. Yes, Merredith. Everybody look at Merredith. She has it on her desk, right? On her desk. Now, that's a gold star. So, but it's available in TerraView for downloading, pretty readable. I am committed to using that as my platform going forward rather than issuing these bulletins that nobody can ever find. And if the truth be known, some of the older bulletins, you know how I find it? Google, right? So it's not, the process of issuing bulletins as a communication tool, I'm gonna move with the times. ERPG, everything will be built into ERPG. If you saw what you got yesterday night, it wasn't an announcement, it was actually an excerpt from ERPG. It's gonna be plunked into ERPG, and all of my changes will be in ERPG, okay? Even if you don't have it on your desk, your staff should, really should. And those announcements, oh, Merredith's staff does?
No, I was going to say to you, Jeff, I print it out and I put it in a binder and I tab it with each section so I can put precedents in there as well.
Yeah,
Documents.
that's
So
what you
I
got.
highly, that's my Bible.
Okay.
I highly recommend print it out, put it in a binder, tab it. Putting it in a binder lets you put in precedents. Means you have to reprint it when it gets updated, but it's well worth it.
And you can tell Merredith in grade 2 would have been that sort of kid that nobody liked. They're like, you teacher, Lisha, look at me. But
it's lasted beyond grade 2 that nobody likes me, Jeff.
But people, it is a good guide. It's an important guide. And going forward, it'll be really important because that's the only way you're going to hear from me. Like, that's how my official communication is going to come out. So what you got yesterday night is actually a page out of the guide that I'm going to upload in a week or so, just before Thanksgiving. And I'm going to do it again in December. When the new electronic portal will come out, it will be uploaded into ERPG. Also, I'm trying to develop, and this is a perfect example, a better working relationship with FOLA, OBA, to try to reach the lawyers I care about, real estate lawyers, right? This is a good forum for me. And now that we've been forced to, I never even knew what Zoom was before COVID. So now that we're getting into this, like, I am thinking of ways that being able to reach out to people. But so through OBA, through FOLA, if you use title insurance, I've also given all the notices to the title insurer so they show up. Lawyer Done Deal has been made aware of all these. I'm trying to find ways of reaching people on a practical level about these types of changes. So what will change between now and Thanksgiving? Maybe like a 1 in a 1/1000th chance I might play around with those LROs, right? Like if we do the math and we say, oh no, Ottawa's going to get too many documents, I might shift somebody to go to T-Bay. That's the only change I'm expecting. I'm not expecting any changes, but if there's going to be any change, that's the change. So when I upload to ERPG, please look at those charts of which LROs are being diverted to make sure that nothing has changed, but I will announce it, okay? I also will be demonstrating the December new electronic TerraView PDF portal submission. I got to get a funkier name for it because it's just too much of it to say. That's coming in December. I'll preview it in 6 minutes. 6 Minute Real Estate Lawyer is right. The timing is just like, you couldn't have been better. I think it's in November, end of November, and I'm going to go online in December with the new program. I'm going to have TerraNet demo it on 6 Minute. And don't worry, we'll have lots of opportunities to communicate, okay? So I'm going to, one other thing about ERPG before I go into questions. I'm doing well on time. The ERPG, we're talking about in the context of new instructions for what to do in the registry office. And yes, it's a perfect vehicle for me to tell you what to do. But ERPG, I've decided to use it as a better vehicle to improve sort of like commonly asked questions. I'm just going to update things. So I've got a bunch of things, but 3 I want to highlight for you that I think will be very valuable. People have always asked me, first dealings, the definitive word out of your mouth, Jeff, on first dealings, right? There is no good bulletin out there. If anyone's actually seen the bulletin on first dealings, it's pretty vague. It's vague. I'm admitting it's vague. You notice I use the word vague instead of like crappy or something like that, like, because I'm only going to say vague. I have got in the next ERPG the ultimate killer. Everything Jeff has ever thought about first dealings and how it applies and how it doesn't apply. I have a brand new section. I have a brand new section on Idiot's Guide to Drafting a Court Order, right? Because I think we let our litigators draft these things, and some of them are just absolutely unworkable, right? Unworkable. So I've got a very long and very detailed new section on court orders, the 12 things you cannot do, or the 5 things you must do. It's the bee's knees. I've got a new section on when do you need a reference plan and when can you get away with an old registry description, right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. You think it's like what is that equity, the length of the chancellor's foot? It's not. We actually have very specific rules on when an old description is not great but good enough and when you need a new R plan. Very valid question and saves your client thousands of bucks nowadays in surveys. Or I used to say a survey, $800, right? But there's no such thing anymore, right? No such thing anymore, right? So anyways, I have at least a dozen new updates. Some of them are minor technical things, but these 3 big things coming out in the ERPG, and just target it just before Thanksgiving. There'll be lots to talk about after Thanksgiving. So ERPG is where to go. Questions. I'm going to launch right into questions. And again, I apologize. This isn't a live question and answer session, but I do have a bunch of questions assembled. Some from earlier, I did a presentation from Middlesex. There are some that I've got over the email from Merredith. And I'm going to try to avoid very specific ones, right? Like, you know, in my LRO, on the upper left-hand corner of the 3rd shelf beside the men's room is this, where will it be? Those kind of questions I'm going to avoid for now. I'm not avoiding the question. Send it to me, we'll answer it, but not for a group of 100 spread across the province. I tried to genericize some of the questions. What's going to happen to the original documents once you're fully scanned and uploaded, right? So let's say by year end, early new year, I'm up to the point where I'm going to say it's effectively 100% scanned. What are we going to do with it? For the moment, no specific plans. If it was a document that was in your old LRO, it's going back for the moment to be stored in the LRO. If it's a board plan, you remember those old plans that they thought they were going to make permanent by gluing them onto, it looks like plywood, right? It looks like plywood. Those permanent plans will probably not come back into the LRO, but will be kept with the photocopying company, the scanning company. They have facilities that they'll keep it there. Because if a scan comes back and you say, Jeff, I can't read the board plan, it's just as easy to have the scanning company keep the board plan and rescan it, okay? So for the moment, we have absolutely no plans to destroy documents. We're working on, I don't want to say it's a deal, but we're working with the Archives of Ontario to see if we can find a place to put these documents eventually, like they're going to have to go somewhere. So we're working on it, but for the time being, don't you worry. Second question, and it's related to the first question, is, Jeff, what if a lot of documents that are scanned are not legible? I have 2 answers for that. I treat it like it's a missing document. We put our SWAT team on it, we'll rescan it, re-upload it. But a lot of the originals are not readable. Like just so you think it's our scanning, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. You know, they were jittery when they scanned it. It comes out crooked. I get it. We'll rescan it. But don't think for a split second that some of the old documents, when I say old documents, turn of the 1800s, those documents have melted. Like they're not legible, right? I remember doing a deal out your way, Merredith, Lorignal. And there was a railway, and I did all the titles for the Lorignal short track railway. And one of the qualifiers in my title opinion is I have made assumptions on those documents I could not read, right? And I was sitting in the land registry office. Now, they shouldn't have taken my opinion because they didn't actually ask me to specify which documents I couldn't read. There were tons I couldn't read. Like there were entire swaths of L'Oreal. I could no longer read them. They were, first of all, they were very cursive and pretty they must have been very pretty in the 1800s. But 200 years later, those documents have effectively melted into one gigantic blob, the originals. So on the scan quality, we are going to re-upload them, but not all documents will ultimately be legible. But that's no different than if you actually walked into the registry office, frankly, okay? Now, are you going back to normal business hours now that stage 3 is Ontario? First of all, who knows if we're going to stay in stage 3, but even if we aren't, like even if this stage 3 is the wave going forward, between now and Thanksgiving, am I going to go back to full hours? Nope. Nope. Here's a good one. Condominium documents are not registry, but they still come in paper. What are we going to do? Now, some condominium documents have to come in paper. Other condominium documents come in paper because I have a PIN limit. Now, some of you guys will not have to deal with PIN limits, but it's an urban thing. It's an urban thing. My system locks up at 450 pins. Anything above 450 pins, you have to come in paper, okay? So that's Ottawa, London, Toronto, bit in Windsor. That's about it. There may be a few others. If you have to come in paper, paper is paper, whether it's registry, first apps have to come in paper, or PIN limits. I don't care. If it's paper, you come in using this courier system. That's all. There's no different. And that applies to land titles, condo documents, land titles, 450 PIN documents. Some of you guys work for municipalities. When you register big bylaws, they come in paper as well because they hit too many pins. Okay, so no, I make no distinction. Although I've been talking about registry non-convert because that's the overwhelming share of paper documents. Really, all I mean is paper documents. Paper documents that used to come and be handed in over the counter now get couriered in. Okay. This is a good one. When I go to the registry office, I can look at a reference plan before I buy it. But I can't do that when I'm online, either in OnLand or TerraView. It's true. You have to buy it. I'm working on it, okay? So if you look at, let's pick, I can't see anyone, but you remember Kitchener has the ugliest ones. German company tracks, okay? You open up it's not a locked concession. It's German company tract number 12, and it's like 1 billion acres, right? You want to do a registry search in that? Not our land, not our land, not our land, for like an hour. These things are humongous. I don't know why Kitchener decided. Like I said, there are quirks all over the province. You'd be shocked that every LRO has got its thing, right? But anyways, I love picking on Kitchener for this one because these German company tracts are humongous, right? So you hit some R plans. It could be on the northwest corner in a different city. The southeast corner of the German company tract is in a totally, like, why would I buy all the reference plans from up north when I am just buying a tiny little piece on the southeast corner of a 12,000 acre tract, right? If you're at the LRO, you'd look at the R plan, not buying it, not buying this one, not buying that one. I get it. I get it. We're working on a plan. We're working on a plan to allow you to either look at the title block or something. Good question. Solution being contemplated by the DOT. Okay. What about the Roscoe machine? What about the Roscoe machine? The Roscoe machine is on the inside of the land registry office. When you get to the land registry office, the doors will be closed, so there will be no Roscoe machine available to you. I'm not bringing it on the outside, that's for sure. I don't know of any lawyers that actually use Roscoe anymore. In the old days, if you go into the registry office, this is, you know, like if you don't want to use TerraView, you can use Roscoe. It's an old dumb, what they call a dumb terminal. It has no computer in itself. It links up to somewhere in the cloud somewhere at Terranet, and you get to do essentially the same searches in a slightly, it's a totally different program. It doesn't look like TerraView. Okay, so for the long and short of it is I'm shocked if any lawyers actually use Roscoe, but if you do, you're not using it anymore. By the way, I was going to cancel Roscoe anyways. Now that TerraView has been around for 20 years, OnLand's around, I was canceling, like even if I kept the registry offices open, Roscoe was gone anyways. So, okay, what about corporations? In some land registry offices, we can file corporations, the OBCA documents. Make that a past tense. In some land registry office, you used to be able to file corporations documents. Corporations has gone a little more upscale now. They accept emails and faxes. Once they accept emails and faxes, you don't need to come into my land registry office to file. And not every land registry office took corporations documents. If you're used to doing corporations at the land registry office, so I think Kingston, a few others, if that's what you're used to, get used to something called fax or email, because that's how they're going to do it now. Okay. Oh, here's another question that I'm surprised at. What about the balance on my RPR cards? I wish I could do a survey right now. Who has an RPR card? I don't even know what RPR stands for, but when you come in and you want to make a photocopy at the land registry office, you have this option of either paying for it piecemeal or they've issued these old cards, like debit cards, really. Land registry, I think RPR is a weird way of saying land registry office debit cards. But there are a few floating around, so regular old timers use them. A lot of title searchers have them, I think. And no, I am not going to steal the balances on the debit cards. There will be some process. Go to the counter now and ask them what we have a process. You're going to get a refund. Is it an easy process? We're government. Why would it be easy, right? No, but I'm going to give you, the short answer is you'll get your refunds on RPR cards. God, I'm not taking your money, right? Here's an interesting one. Members of the public who come into the land registry office do so because they're computer illiterate and need to have land registry office staff help them find documents. That's not true. I'm not saying that they're not computer illiterate, right? They might be. My mother is not computer literate, right? But they don't come into the land registry office to have my staff help them find a deed. That's really what they want. They want to find their deed or a survey to their house. That's the two things they ever care about. Sometimes to see if there's a mortgage. Those are the three things they care about. The land registry office staff do not help them. You know what they do? Land registry office staff say, "Dear Mrs. Lem, thank you for coming visiting the office. First of all, you should have brought your son. Second of all, if you're here and you do want to search your title, see over there, that's called a Roscoe computer. Good luck." Now, I hope they're more polite than that to my mother, but they direct them to the Roscoe machine. My mother could not have done OnLand. She sure as heck can't do Roscoe. She does know how to phone and nag me to get stuff, so that's how it would have been done. The public that comes in that are not computer literate, they really should hire a lawyer. They really should. They honestly should not be looking at these documents. Even if they manage to pull a pin, how are they going to read a pin? In their wildest dreams, how are they going to be able to read a pin, right? In their wildest dreams. At best, they recognize their name. That's about it. They won't even know the context. So I'm being a little facetious, and I don't want to be disrespectful to my mother or that entire generation that doesn't know how computers. But the short answer is, if these people come into the registry office, we don't provide a bespoke service to search for them. We point them to the Roscoe machines. It's a self-service business, and we run a Roscoe machine. So my mother is no better off. And in fact, I know OnLand's more intuitive. It's than a Roscoe machine, which looks very much like a DOS machine. Okay. I have time for at least one more good question, and I have a good one here. Okay. There are a lot of odds and ends indexes maintained in a lot of land registry offices. Will those be available for continued use? Yes and no. there's a lot of stuff that is not part of the official record. My team has gone through some of the stuff, and it's a combination of how useful is the stuff, how easy it is to scan, and what's the comparative value. I have made a judgment call. Some of the indexes are fairly useful, right? So some of you have, the condo indexes, some of the indexes, parcel to pin indexes. Some of these are maintained by the local land registrars. I'm uploading them all. I'm going to throw them all into OnLand as a resource. If you find that the cross indexing is better, use that resource. Some of the stuff, either a combination of it's hard to scan and it's not that useful, combination, I will not upload. The one that I get a lot of questions for is the old assessment block maps. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember those. That's how we used to find legal descriptions, right? That's, you walk into an LRO on a raw search by address, you went to the assessment maps to look for them, right? They haven't been updated in a gazillion years. A lot of them in various registry offices are fairly tattered and they're beat up pretty bad. We're not uploading those, right? Other land registry offices have these odd plans sitting around. They're not official plans. They're no geos, no nothing, but they're sitting around. You Middlesex guys have your favorite little Moore plan. It shows the downtown Toronto, downtown London in kind of cool, it looks cool, but that's it. It looks cool. It's a historical thing that'll go to archive someday, but it's not being uploaded. So the answer is some of the indexes will be uploaded. Abstract, like what do you guys call them? Assessment maps, old paper block maps. That's what I used to call them. Paper block maps will not be uploaded, but most of the other juicy good stuff will be uploaded. Merredith, I'm looking at my clock and I'm looking at like 2 minutes left. Can I leave it to you to wrap up? People, I am accessible, so send me your questions. It's just that in this format, it wasn't easy to address specific questions. Merredith?
Hi, Jeff. I've been waiting patiently for my turn. It's Eldon. I don't know if you can see me or not. But
I can.
I've been listening and learning, as have we all, and Merredith agreed that I could have the last word today, which I appreciate, particularly having been thrown under the bus earlier. We really do appreciate you taking the time to do this. FOLA is making every effort to spread all of the updates we can about the constantly changing real estate environment. And hopefully we're doing an okay job, largely thanks to Merredith, who works tirelessly at this. I do want to clarify a little bit of Jeff's story. He mentioned the number of wine bottles, but he didn't attribute the consumption of those bottles to either one of us. I would, but I still want to register things in the future. So with a view to keeping my stick, I won't say anymore. I want to just thank everybody else for joining in and listening patiently. There is obviously a lot of news coming out. There's more to come. FOLA will get it out to you. Jeff will be sending it out to you. Watch for the new guide and pay attention. I'm sure you all have it, but if anybody doesn't, get it and print it and update it. Watch for the FOLA updates where we'll be passing on information from Jeff and elsewhere. And I hope that we'll all continue to work forward. Jeff, it sounds like the fixes are in the works, and we all know it's difficult. There's been a lot of disappointment and angst across the province about the closing of the registry offices. It's always hard to see change. And while I personally would love to be able to go into my little RO here in Morrisburg and see my old registrar and get things done, unfortunately, that's just not the way the world works. And so we appreciate the update. And you taking time out of what I know is a busy schedule. So thank you all, and watch for the updates. We have recorded this, and unless Merredith corrects me, it will be posted as a link on the FOLA website. So anybody who talks to you and says they couldn't get in, pass it on. We will have it, and you can go back and check that as well. So thank you, Jeff, and unless there's something else that Merredith tells me I've forgotten, thank you all for
No, that's it. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
I'm the old guy's just gonna say thanks to Merredith and Eldon and Jeff. This is amazing for all real estate lawyers, and your efforts are truly appreciated by all of us. Information and communication is critical. And I don't know where we'd be without Eldon and Merredith, and we really, really thank you for your efforts. And Jeff, you're looking great no matter what your weight is. Take care, guys. I'm out of here.
Thanks, Jerry. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.